Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and on and on talking about him, but today we're here to talk about him being an eternal optimist. Mohammed Hersi, thank you so much. Asante sana for taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Tejas, and good to see you after many years.
Jambo and Karibu to another brilliant episode of Humans on Happiness. The episode today, like all my episodes, is very close to my heart, super special for two big reasons. The first one being that I am bringing it to you from my hometown, Mombasa, magical Kenya. Yes, that is where I was born and raised, in this beautiful country, this amazing island town of Mombasa. And today we're shooting this episode at the amazing Voyager Beach Resort. You can look around and the location could not get any more breathtaking. The other big reason is our guest and happy human for today, who has been one of my earliest sources of inspiration and a role model from the time when I first started my journey in the hospitality industry. And the best part is, today we both talk about a topic very close to our heart, and guess what? It's not hospitality, but optimism. So ladies and gentlemen, bringing to you our episode today, a little bit of optimism. You look around, there's a lot of gloom, there's a lot of adversity, and we actually wonder, is it possible to look at a glass half full? Is it possible to have hope with especially the past couple of years with what has been going on? What if I tell you the gentleman I have here, he calls and is an eternal optimist? I could go on and on. In fact, I think I could do a whole show just on his accolades and growth and his success story. He started off with the grassroots levels of hospitality and continued to grow and develop himself to become a renowned leader of the hospitality industry in Africa, with the current position being the Group Director of Operations at Pullman's and Baobab Beach. Is that right? Not only that, but he has chaired and headed various institutions and organizations related to hospitality, the last one being the chairman of the Kenya Tourism Federation.
You're right, yeah.
And what I really get inspired with is he didn't just stick to hospitality. He has continued to transform and evolve himself, and right now as we speak, he's somewhat a legend on social media, with a massive following both on Facebook and Twitter, with his unbiased yet straight on views on all matters governance of Africa. This has actually got him a recognition of the most influential digital leader in Africa with the recent ADIA Awards in 2020. And what gave him that is, you should actually follow him on Facebook. He's got a very healthy and an exciting blend of content that he posts. Obviously, there is heaps of stuff around hospitality with his signature hashtag Why I Love Kenya. He's die-hard sports fan of his team Arsenal. There's stuff of that, heaps of humor, matters governance Africa, international, and Kenya. And what I love the most, or what's something interesting and unique, is something what he calls hashtag Soko Hersi, which is basically he's leveraging his 85,000 followers plus on Facebook to launch a marketplace, a weekly based marketplace to attract and encourage small business owners to kind of trade and kind of exchange goods and services on his platform. Mohammed Hersi, thank you so much. Asante sana for taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Tejas, and good to see you after many years. But it doesn't feel many years because, again, of social media. Yes. Because when I keep seeing you every single other day when you post, I follow what you write, what you say on Facebook and sometimes on Twitter. It's like we've been together and we've kept in touch since then. And I did not realize that one day you will actually come back home, all the way from down under. That's quite a long way off. So the fact that you've come back to your home city, I'd also like to say Karibu, welcome. It's always good to have one of our own coming back home to see what we got out here. Mombasa, Kenya, still warm, beautiful place. A lot of good things happening, a lot of joy around us. Of course, we have challenges like
Yes.
many other parts of the world, but as always, I choose to remain an optimist and to look at the brighter side of life. That's who I am, that's what I do, and that's how I choose to look at life. Not that I do not look at what doesn't work, but I do not overly focus on that.
Right. Where and how did it start? Is it something that you always had, or was there like a realization on becoming an optimist?
I think firstly is that I noticed that the more I lament and the more I complain about issues, it does not mean that the problem will go away.
Right.
It hardly.
Right.
Then many years ago, but way back in '95, when I was going through challenges in Saudi Arabia, where I was working with Sheraton, I read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People
Right.
by the late Stephen Covey. And this is what I always like sharing with young people, that yes, you could be going through challenges. Life is never smooth,
Yes.
but it's up to you to decide how you want to respond to it. And Stephen Covey says, he breaks the word responsibility into your ability to respond to anything that has happened to you. He says, what has happened to you is not what hurts you more.
Right.
The way you respond to it hurts you the most. And
Yes.
he gives the example of a snake bite.
Yes.
You have 2 choices: either to relax and try to contain the situation,
Right.
or the other option is to try and attempt to run after the snake, to try to kill it, and in the process what happens, your heart starts beating more, and then it means that the poison now will reach your heart even faster. Which means that you actually worsen an already bad situation. So from that, I personally just decided, you know what, every time I decide to focus on what works,
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you, somehow things tend to fall into place. My hard work doesn't go out, that doesn't count for nothing. I get the results, and in the process I've been able to influence a lot of people who come back and tell me, Mohammed, thank you for helping us to focus on what works.
In the world that we stand today, you also need to be shrewd. You need to be. It does not always pay to be kind, nice, and positive. What are your thoughts on the importance of optimism in our world today?
You use some very powerful words that is actually bedeviling the world today. Words like shrewd, you can add crafty, and even smart with quotes. And when people do that, more often than not, they actually engage in what we call a win-loss situation.
Yes.
I win, you lose.
Right.
They never think about win-win. They don't think about getting into a deal where both of you win. And again, that takes me back to Stephen Covey. One of the habits, actually the 4th habit, which says, think win-win. If you go into a negotiation, into a deal with a mindset of win-loss, and you're only looking about it's about me and me and me alone. Yes, you may win, but it's not sustainable. The main mantra of optimism is about fairness. And you don't have to be shrewd. You don't have to be crafty. You don't have to shortchange anyone for you to make it in life.
Optimism is not a commonly found value amongst human beings. You'd wish it to be.
Yeah.
So how can someone bring it about in themselves?
The opposite of optimism is pessimism, which is just being negative. And we always talk about the glass being half full or half empty.
Correct.
It's still the same glass with the same amount of liquid, but you choose the words you want to use. Everybody thinks
Of the other side.
the across the fence
Yes.
is the greener side. Yeah.
I always like to say it this way, that instead of saying the grass is greener on the other side, how about you water the grass on your side to be greener?
Absolutely.
It's in your hands.
That is also within your control to water, to look after, to tend what you got.
So is it Has it been an easy journey? What are some of the challenges you face being so positive and optimistic?
The biggest challenge are the people who want to pull you for you to join their corner to think negative and to join what I call the pessimism club.
Yes.
So you have a choice and you say, you know what, no thank you, I'm not going to join you there. I'm fine where I am and I'll continue looking at things from the brighter side of life. I'll give you a very simple example that has worked and it's been written many times. When you drive into a car park and you see the place is very busy and you strongly feel that, hey, today is going to be a challenge to get a parking slot.
Yes.
The moment you overly focus on that you are not going to find space, it actually becomes a reality.
Manifesting your
Yes.
negative energies and thoughts.
Yes, actually it works. But if you drove in calmly, and yes, you say, wow, today's looking busy, wow, things are kicking for these guys, beautiful, and then inside you hope that you'll find space. Just after a few yards, you find tail lights, parking lights, and somebody reversing to give you space. Because when you decide that there's no slot, you're telling the universe that I'm already prepared for the bad news, that I won't find a slot. So why should the universe help you to find space?
He's given such a simple daily life example, but it makes such absolute sense. Manifesting what it is that you actually want. Is it easy having this positive and optimistic mindset on a consistent basis?
It is not easy, but it's a habit you need to develop.
Right.
And again, a good writer that I follow very strongly, and I've read virtually all his books, Robin Sharma,
Yes.
says that you develop a good habit in 21 days.
Yes.
Now, if you decide to focus on it consistently and to say, you know what, I am not going to be thinking negative, and I will also avoid people who are negative. It is said that you are the average of your 3 best friends or 5 best friends, whatever
That's correct.
you look at. If you surround yourself with people who just think negative throughout, then that's what you're going to be. And the choice is yours. In the past, I was never a morning person.
Right.
These days, I'm a morning person.
Have you joined his 5 a.m. club?
Yes,
Robin
I am.
Sharma's?
Yes, I am. Which also means you need to sleep early.
Very true.
And it's been proven that when you are up by 4:30, you've got 3 solid hours before the rest of the world. You're ahead of them. So it's something you need to build. It is not easy, but it is not insurmountable. You can do it. And it's all about you choosing that you want it and you want it badly.
So you talked about a choice, you talked about waking up early. What are your thoughts on toxic positivity? The other end of eternal optimism. These days people are talking about being too positive, being that it's turning toxic and poisonous. Do you think that's a thing?
No, I think I am optimist, I'm also a realist.
Right.
I am trying to avoid a scenario where I pretend that all is well and shiny, glossy in the world. There are challenges. So when you shield yourself totally from things that may not be working, I also point out things that don't work.
Yes.
Both in my country, in my county of Mombasa, and even globally, global issues. I point them out.
Right.
So if you decide not to address any of those issues, then probably you qualify now to be toxic positive, because you are saying that, well, there's nothing wrong on this earth and there's nothing to be worked on. So I think that is also wrong. But I want to use the Pareto rule, 80-20.
Yep.
I want to focus more. 80% of my time I want to spend looking at things that work and where I have an influence. And then it goes back to Stephen Covey. I have a choice between my circle of influence and my circle of concern. Circle of concern is global oil prices, Ukraine-Russia war. It's not in my control. It's in my control that I want to live healthy. I want to eat healthy. It's in my control. We're going to elections in August this year. I register. I influence as many people to vote for a particular candidate that I feel is going to make changes in my country. Those are issues that are within my control. Anything that is outside my control is basically a call of concern.
Yes.
And doesn't help anyone. Yeah.
A very, very powerful nugget of wisdom again. Taking a little bit of a sidestep, talking about your journey as an influential person in the digital world. How did all of that start? How do you manage to maintain such an amazing balance of content and stuff that you post on social media?
It depends on how you use social media. You can choose to be a positive person, objective person, and more people read what you post, more people will listen to your podcast, they will follow your YouTube channel on the stuff that you do.
Yes.
And then you cut across the field, and most importantly, you're not biased.
Right.
And you're not taking extreme positions. Then you realize that you start building your followership. Just the other day I had less than 50,000 Twitter followers. Now I'm going close to 400.
Yes.
Which is not easy to build, but it's all organic. People see sense and they follow you.
Talking about happiness, what does happiness mean to you? What's your definition of happiness?
Happiness, number one for me, is of good health. That's paramount. It doesn't matter how much money I've got. If I don't have my health, then it's pointless. So for me, is health. I'm waking up in the morning comfortable. I don't need to take a pill to help me sleep at night. I don't have to deal with any insomnia. I don't have any complication. Anything else is secondary.
Very, very wise. You can look, money can come back, materials can come back, you can buy, sell, but your health, if you're not healthy, then what good is anything extra excess that you have? Any final piece of advice for the youngsters on how can they be more positive and happy?
Simple advice to the youth is that they're living in very exciting times.
Yes.
Very exciting times, but also very challenging times. Have your fun, but act responsibly. And in the process, gratitude at all times. Learn to say thank you and learn to appreciate what you got.
Right.
And then learn to share. Don't be selfish.
How important is sharing, and how do you share?
When you share, the spirit of giving, it comes back tenfold. Any faith will teach you that. It is when you've got a candle and you light up another candle, do you get more light or you get less light? Choice is yours. Help others to turn the world into one happy globe.
And that's another big drop. You could let your candle burn out, or you could already light another candle with the same and increase the light. That is brilliant, Mr. Hersi. Thank you so much for those nuggets of wisdom. But we're not going to let you free so easy. What my viewers most wait for is the final segment, which is the Quick Fire 5. They all know it's coming, but they don't know what the questions are. So, Mr. Hersi, are you ready for Quick Fire 5?
Yes, let's go.
Fantastic.